Okay, guys, so this is the last video of the week in terms of new material. So we were not able to do these two questions. So I'm going to give you the solutions to this. Now remember, um, so Wednesday, you will have to do this two questions, right? And on Thursday, I will be holding office hours, just like the first meeting that we had. So that's going to be optional. That will be for students who need more help. They can come and ask me questions during class time. And on Friday, I will make the first quiz available. So again, I think I'm going to give you close to um, 12 hours or so. I will make the quiz, you can submit the quiz until midnight on Friday. So I'm going to be giving you a lot of time um, because this is the first time that you'll have to, you know, answer the questions on a piece of paper, take pictures using Cam Scanner, and then submit that to me through email. So after this video, I'll make another video that will show you how to use that application. And the quiz will be slightly longer, guys, right? So you can think of the quiz as a mini test. So that will cover all the concepts that were covered in this review questions that I created for you. Okay, so make sure you are familiar with these questions because you're going to see something very similar on Friday. So, how do you solve a question like this? So, there is no formula that can give you the area of this shape directly, okay, because it's a combination of different shapes. So when you get a question like this, you have to intelligently break this um, into smaller shapes. Okay, so maybe two, maybe three, really depends on the question. In this case, you could either slice this up, so close this over here, then you can focus on this rectangle, right? We can call this 1 and 2 separately. That's one way of doing it. Or what you could also do is you could just close the rectangle this way and then find the area of this rectangle. Let's just call this 1 and this one separately. Okay, so find the area of 1, find the area of 2, just add them up. That will give you the total area. Okay, so it doesn't matter how you do it. I'm actually gonna do what I initially did because I think that might be a little bit easier. And the reason why it's easier is because I know that this side is 2, right? And that this side is 3. So I can easily find the area of, let's just call this um, A1. Okay, so area 1. So because it's a rectangle, right? A1 is just equals to, um, depends on the formula that you use, right? It could be base times height if that's the formula that you used in junior high. So you could use that one. I like to go with length times width. So again, it doesn't matter what you choose your length to be, but usually it's the longer side. So if you choose 3 to be your length, then this is just going to be 3 times the width. So this is my width. This is my length. So 3 times 2, so that gives me 6 centimeters squared. Okay, so make sure you're putting your units, guys, because I will be penalizing you for that. Okay, so make sure you have your units. Okay, so because the length was given in centimeters and the width was given in centimeters, right? So the area has to be centimeters squared. So now that we know what A1 is, let's try to figure out what A2 is. So this might be slightly challenging. I know that my length, so let me use a different color. I know that my length is 6 centimeters, right? But what I need to figure out is how much is my width. And that's not obvious because it's not given to you directly. But what you do know is this much over here is 5 centimeters, right? Um, and maybe let me use a different color. And this much over here is 3 centimeters, right? So because this is 5 and this is 3, then this has to be 2, right? Because 2 plus 3 should give you 5, okay? So that's how you find this length, okay? Now, if you were to solve this mathematically, then your width, how did I get the 2? Your width is just equals to this 5 over here, right? This 5 minus this 3, okay? That's how you get the 2. So on the next question, this will actually be very useful, understanding how to find the width using subtraction, okay? So now that you have your length, right, and your width, you can calculate the area of this shape over here, right? So let's just call that A2. So A2 is equals to length times width. The length is 6. The width is 2. So this works out to be 12 centimeter squared, okay? And then finally, right, total area. So your total area, you can just call that maybe let me use a different color. So let's just go with green. So you can just call that AT for total area is just equals to A1, or let me be consistent with my colors. So A1 in red plus A2 in blue, okay? Which is just equals to 6 plus 12, which is equals to 18 centimeter squared, right? So you really have to understand how we solve this question, right? Again, there is no formula that can directly give me the area of this shape, okay? So what I'll have to do is I'll have to be a little bit clever. I'm gonna have to break this shape intelligently into two smaller shapes, find the area of each shape separately. Again, these are nice shapes, right? A1 and A2, they're both rectangles, right? So I can easily find their area using this formula. And then to find the total area, just add them up, okay? The tricky part over here is figuring out this length, okay? Not the length, I guess the width, figuring out how big this is. So how do you do that? You have to look at the bigger, like the whole, I guess the bigger side over here. You know that the whole thing is 5, and you know that this much is 3, right? So if you remove 3 from this 5, then the leftover will have to be your width, okay? So that's the tricky part. And this is what we're gonna have to make use of in the next question, okay? Because the next question will be slightly more challenging because you don't have numbers anymore, you have algebraic expression, okay? So how will we do this question? Exactly, just like kind of like in the same fashion as we did the first question, okay? So it's exactly the same thing. So I'm going to split this apart, just like I did in the previous question. So let's just call this A1, right? And let's just be consistent with the color. So A2, I believe, was in blue, right? For A1, I have everything. I know that this over here, you can call this whatever you want. So let's just call this your width, because length, usually we think of length as the bigger side. So this is your length. That is your width. So we have everything. We can easily find the area of A1. Okay, so A1 is just equals to length times width. So my length is 3x minus 2. Now here, because you're multiplying, brackets will be super important. Okay, so make sure you're putting your brackets, because if you don't, then you will not get the right answer. And your width is 2x. Okay, So usually in algebra, right, the 2x is usually in front over here. But in this case, because of the way we've written the formula, the 2x is on the back side, okay? It doesn't matter where you put the 2x, but what you have to understand is that whenever you have a 2x outside the bracket, you have to distribute this, right? So we're going to distribute this. We're going to multiply this. So when I multiply 2x by 3x, so 3 times 2 is 6. So that gives me 6x squared. And then minus 2, right? Minus 2 times 2, so that's minus 4x. So the area, right, A1 is equals to 6x squared minus 4x, okay? It's an algebraic expression. Like, you're not gonna get a number as your final answer because your length and width were not numbers to begin with, okay? So now let's find A2. A2 is slightly more challenging. So I know what my length is, right? My length over here is 6x minus 1. That I do know. But the problem is I'm not sure what my width is equals to, right? But I can make use of the fact that this side, right, the whole thing over here is 5x minus 1, and this much is 3x minus 2. So if I remove 3x minus 2, if I remove this from here, then the leftover piece, right, which is this much, will correspond to my width, okay? So let's calculate this using algebra. So we have to do the bigger side minus the smaller side. So the bigger side is 5x plus 1, right, this one. And then I have to remove this length, right? So the 3x minus 2. So 5x plus 1 minus 3x minus 2. Okay, sorry, I'm running out of space. So this will just equals to 5x plus 1. I mean, you could put this in brackets if you wanted to, but the brackets don't really serve a purpose because you're not really multiplying this by anything. So usually when you multiply, that's when you have to have brackets, okay? So you could add the brackets, but you don't have to. Here, it's important to have brackets because you're going to be multiplying everything on the inside by -1. Remember, the coefficient is not visible, it's 1, and because there's a minus sign, it's actually -1. Okay, so I'm gonna have to distribute this minus sign, so I'm gonna have to multiply every term on the inside by -1. So that means this 3x will become minus 3x, and this minus 2 will actually become plus 2, okay? And then you have to combine your like terms together. So the 5x will actually combine with minus 3x, and the plus 1 will combine with plus 2, okay? So when you simplify this, you should get 5 minus 3, that's 2, so 2x, and then plus 1 plus 2, that's plus 3. Okay, so my width is equals to 2x plus 3. And now you have everything that you need to find the area of A2, okay, of this shaded region. So how do you find the area? So this is my length, right? And that's my width. So area is just equals to length times width. My length is 6x minus 1. Right, again, I'm using brackets because now I'm multiplying. Okay, so now my brackets will serve a purpose, and I have to multiply this by my width, which is 2x plus 3. So this is a binomial multiplication, guys, right? So you have to take the first term in the bracket on the left and multiply this by the whole thing on the right, okay? So this means that I have to multiply 6x by 2x plus 3, and then, right, then you take the second term, so that's minus 1, so carry the sign with you, and then multiply that minus 1 by the whole thing on the right, okay? So this just becomes minus 1 times 2x plus 3. okay? And then you distribute, right? So distribute the 6x to each term on the inside and do the same thing with -1, okay? So this just becomes 12. X times x is x squared, and then 18x, and then -1 times 2x is -2x, and -1 times 3 is -3. And then finally, you will have to combine your like terms together. So let's combine these guys together, and that will give me, oops, so that will give me a2. So a2 is equals to 12x squared plus 16x minus 3. And finally, we haven't finished, guys, because what we have over here is we know what a1 is equals to, and now we also know what a2 is equals to. But remember, what we're looking for is the total area, right? So the total area, so that was given to you in green. So AT is just equals to A1, which is this guy over here, right? So A1 plus A2, right? So A1 is, I mean, if you want, you can write A1 plus A2, but because I'm running out of space, I think I'm not going to do that. I'm just simply going to replace the values right away. So I know that A1 is 6x squared minus 4x. And then I have to add, because I'm adding, again, guys, brackets are not important. You could put the brackets, but they're not going to, um, I mean, they're not, like, they're redundant in some sense, okay? So you can put the brackets if you want to, right? So, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not multiplying. So A2 is this, right? A2 is, so let me maybe use a different color for A2. This is A2, right? So that's 12x squared plus 16x minus 3. So this is your final answer, but what you have to remember is that you can actually simplify this, right, by combining your like terms. So when you do that, oh, actually I had more space down here, so, but I don't think I need all that space, okay? So the 6x squared will combine with 12x squared. The minus 4x will combine with plus 16x, and then the minus 3 will be all by itself, okay? So when you combine this together, you should get, so 6, right, plus 12, that's 18. So 18x squared, and then minus 4x with 16x, so that's plus 12x. And then finally, the minus 3 does not combine with anything else, so minus 3. And then this is your final answer. Now, don't worry about the units for this question, guys, because the units were not given to you to begin with, right? So this was just 2x. This was 3x minus 2. I did not give you the units. So if this was 2x centimeters, then your final answer would have been whatever we got. But we could have added centimeters squared at the end, but because I never gave you the units to begin with, don't worry about the units for this question, okay? Hopefully, this made sense. If not, guys, remember, the great thing about recorded video is that you can pause me if you don't understand anything, right? You can always rewind and work at your own pace. So if you didn't understand, maybe try watching this video over one more time. And if you still don't get it, then send me an email. And then on Thursday, right, I will be holding office hours. So if you send me an email and give me a heads up, at least I will know how many students I am expecting. because again, that is not mandatory, right? The conference on Thursday is only for the students who need help. I'm not going to force every student to participate in that conference because I know that some of you will probably get this and wouldn't need any extra help. But for the students who do, I will be available on Thursday, okay? So that is it, guys. So that is it for this week. So if you understood this document, right, this review package, um, this made sense to you, then the quiz on Friday will be fairly straightforward for you because I'm essentially my questions will resemble this review package a lot. Okay, so thank you so much, guys. Um, take care.